There is a quiet kind of pain that follows people with big ideas. Not the pain of failure, but the ache of not starting, of knowing you are built for more. You're watching the days pass as your vision sits untouched. If you've ever felt that tension between who you are and who you could be, then you know it isn't laziness. It's something deeper. A disconnect between your ambition and your execution. A delay between your dreams and your daily habits. You have ideas that could change your life, maybe even others' lives. But when it's time to act, to execute, something always pulls you back. You put it off, wait for the right mood, the right energy, the perfect time. But the truth is, that moment never comes. And every time you wait, the burden grows heavier. The weight of potential becomes a quiet grief, a haunting reminder that you're capable of more than you're doing. And yet, this burden isn't here to punish you. It's here to push you. It's a signal, not a sentence, a calling disguised as discomfort. You feel it because your vision is real, because the life you imagine is possible, and because somewhere inside you still believe it's worth the fight. That belief is your starting point. But belief without structure is just another daydream. That's why discipline matters. That's why you're here, quietly planning your escape, brick by brick, breath by breath, while the world is still asleep. You're probably driving right now, heading to a job you don't love, listening to this voice come through your car speakers, while the same streets you've seen 1,000 times roll by outside your window. And deep down, you know you are meant for something more than just surviving until Friday. You wake up early, press play, sip your coffee, and try to convince yourself that maybe this week will be different, but it never really is. You've got a good brain, a sharp eye, maybe even a strong work ethic, but it's like all of that potential is locked behind glass. Like the life you want is there but just out of reach. You've probably started and stopped more projects than you can count. Ideas, side hustles, routines, all with that electric feeling at the beginning, but they fizzle out, buried under fatigue, stress, or the simple pull of comfort. And as you sit in that car, moving slowly through morning traffic, you think about all the time you spent planning, researching, hoping. You replay the same dream in your head, what your life could look like, the business you want to build, the freedom you crave. And for a moment, it feels possible. But then the light turns green, your hands tighten on the wheel, and reality hits again. Another day, another shift, another delay in the life you actually want to live. The enemy isn't your job. It's not your boss. It's the belief that waiting will eventually lead to change. It's the illusion that one day it'll all line up, that motivation will strike, that time will appear. But life doesn't work like that. The world doesn't reward good ideas. It rewards action. You don't get paid for dreaming. You get paid for showing up when it's hard. You get paid for building systems that work even when you're tired. You get paid for doing the boring stuff no one else wants to do. And that's where discipline comes in. Discipline is what protects your dream from your distractions. It's the voice that says, do it anyway, even when you don't feel like it. And if you're really about this life, if you're serious about getting out, you won't just listen to this and feel inspired. You'll go home and you'll act. You'll sit down, set the plan, and get to work before the comfort kicks in. Because you know the truth now. You'd rather be tired from chasing your dream than numb from avoiding it. Think about where you're going right now. Maybe it's the same job, the same shift, the same building you've walked into 100 times. With a smile you don't feel anymore. You've got a dream burning in your chest, a quiet plan you barely talk about, but it follows you everywhere. It's there, in the parking lot, in the break room, in the late hours after work, when your body is tired but your mind won't rest. You think, one day I'll be out of here, and you say it like a promise, but deep down you also fear it might stay just that, a promise that never turns into reality. But you don't want to quit without a plan. You don't want to burn bridges with no way to cross the river. So you build, quietly, you learn, you wake up earlier than you need to. You use your lunch breaks to study. You stop wasting weekends on things that don't move you forward. You don't broadcast it, you don't need to, because you know the only one who needs to believe in this vision is you. This is your escape plan, not made of dreams, but made of hours, of choices, of nights when you show up for your future, even when you're exhausted from your present. That's the real work. That's the foundation of freedom. Every day you follow the routine. Every hour you spend working on your exit. Every time you say no to distraction. You're digging a tunnel. You're moving inch by inch toward light. And even if no one sees it now, even if the progress is slow, you feel it. You feel yourself changing. And that. Some people talk about freedom like it's a dream, something far off, something you stumble into if you're lucky. But you know the truth now. Freedom is earned, it's built, and it costs everything. It costs your comfort, your time, your excuses. It costs the version of you that just wants to relax, that just wants to get by, because you've tried that version already, and you hated how small it made you feel. Right now, you're not like everyone else around you. They're content to drift, to make peace with average, to stay numb just so they don't have to face the weight of their own potential. But not you. You've seen what a wasted life looks like. You've seen it in co-workers who gave up, in family who settled, in strangers who walk around already dead inside. And every time you see it, something in you tightens because you refuse to become that. You'd rather suffer in discipline than rot in regret. The edge isn't about being flashy or fearless. It's about showing up when no one else does. It's about pushing forward when it's not exciting anymore. It's about outlasting the mood, the doubts, the distractions. It's about becoming so consistent, so focused, that nothing can knock you off your path. And one day, while they're still in traffic complaining about life, you'll be living the one you built in silence. Not because you were smarter, not because you were lucky, but because you made a decision and you never backed down from it. There's a version of you that doesn't want attention, not because you're afraid of it, but because you've learned that real progress happens in private. You don't go to every party, you don't post every win. You don't need people to cheer for you to know you're on the right track. Instead, you move quietly and with purpose. You're building something important, even if nobody else sees it. You've already seen what happens when men ignore their purpose. You've seen them drift through life, numbing their drive with distractions and giving up their future for temporary comfort. You've tried that path before, and you decided it wasn't for you. While others chase attention and quick success, you're chasing strength that lasts. They want people to notice them. You want to be solid even when nobody's looking. You understand that real greatness doesn't need to be loud. It's built in private, slowly and steadily. And while no one claps for your early mornings or quiet sacrifices, you're starting to understand something deeper. Power grows in the silence. You live two lives. During the day, you do what's expected. Go to work, show up, keep up with life. But behind that, something else is happening. You're laying the foundation for a better future, even if that future hasn't shown up yet. It's not a fake life. It's the beginning of something bigger. Every hour you put in behind the scenes is a brick in that foundation. Every hour you put in behind the scenes is a brick in that foundation. It's not always easy. You'll feel alone. You'll wonder if it's worth it. But every time you choose focus over distraction, order over chaos, and growth over comfort, you move further away from your old self. The world might not reward you now, but you're not doing it for a trophy. You're doing it because you want to leave something that lasts, because you want peace, because you want to feel strong without needing anyone else to tell you that you are. Most people won't notice what you're doing. Even when you succeed, they might say you got lucky, but they'll never really understand what it took. That's okay. This journey isn't about getting noticed. It's about becoming the person you were meant to be, even if no one claps until the very end. Right now, you might feel invisible, but one day the world will have to pay attention. Until then, keep building. Let your quiet focus become the sharpest tool you carry. Every day, you wake up carrying something heavy. It's not something people can see, but it's there, a pressure deep inside. It's the weight of dreams you haven't built yet, the fear of wasting your potential, the vision of a better life that hasn't shown up yet but feels close. Even if you don't talk about it, it's always on your mind. Most people try to escape that feeling. They scroll on their phones. They make excuses. They talk about doing more, but never follow through. But you've decided to do something different. You've stopped avoiding that pressure. You've started to face it. And that choice is turning you into someone rare. A person who's willing to go through pain now for the sake of something better later. You're no longer afraid of struggle. You're using it. Instead of hoping life gets easier, you're choosing to get stronger. You've learned that hard days shape you. The slow progress, the rejection, the quiet nights with no results, they're all making you someone who can handle success when it comes. Because if you're not strong enough to carry what you've built, what's the point of building it at all? There are times when quitting seems easier, when it feels like nothing is changing and nobody cares. But even then, you show up. You keep going. Not because it's fun, not because it's easy, but because you remember what it felt like to break your own promise. And you don't want to feel that again. So you keep choosing the hard road. Not for pride, but for purpose. Because you know the version of you who gives up will never find freedom. This path you're on isn't just about making it through pain. It's about becoming someone new because of it. You're becoming someone who doesn't need to be seen to be proud. Someone who fights in silence and grows in the dark. And one day, when your life starts to look like the vision you've held onto for years, people will ask how you did it, and you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't handed to you. It was built through small, quiet choices. It was earned when no one was watching. Now, you're past the point of turning back. You're too far in, too focused, too strong to quit now. And every step you've taken, every single one, was paid for in the dark, when it was just you, your goals, and the decision to keep going. You don't have a map, but you have a mission, and every single day, even when nothing seems to be working, you keep building the blueprint in your mind. You know the house you're building is real, even if no one else can see it. And you've accepted the fact that most people won't understand why you work so hard, why you stay up late, why you wake up early, why you disappear from parties and conversations and small talk. They don't understand because they don't feel what you feel. You're not just chasing income, you're chasing independence. You're not just after a job change, you want a life shift. You're building a system, a structure, a future that doesn't rely on the world giving you permission. And every task you complete, every routine you refine, every sacrifice you make, it all goes into the blueprint. There are no shortcuts. There's just depth and repetition and truth. And you've chosen to go deep instead of wide. You've chosen to master instead of dabble. And even though it's lonely and frustrating and slow at times, it's yours. You're not following someone else's script, you're writing your own. That's what this is. That's what separates you. You're not the dreamer anymore, you're the builder, the designer, the engineer of a reality no one gave you. You created it. And when the world finally catches up, when they start to ask how you did it, you won't need to say much, because your life will speak for itself. By now something inside you has changed, not in a loud dramatic way, but in a quiet internal shift that only you can feel. You notice how your thoughts sound different now. You catch yourself making better decisions without needing to argue with your old self. You start treating your time like currency, measuring its worth not in how entertained you were, but in how far it moved you. And little by little, you begin to trust yourself again, not because of how much you've achieved, but because of how consistent you've become. This isn't about being perfect. It's about building integrity with yourself. Every morning you get up before you feel like it. Every workout you complete when no one's watching. Every hour you invest in the future. Instead of escaping into distractions, you're casting votes for the person you're becoming. And that man, he's no longer at war with himself. He doesn't make promises he won't keep. He doesn't need to announce his goals to the world, because he knows he'll reach them regardless. You've stopped relying on hype and started leaning on systems. You've stopped chasing motivation and started building momentum. You've stopped fantasizing about success and started preparing to carry it. And that shift, that deep, foundational shift, is the real win. Because when discipline becomes your default, everything else starts to follow. Your finances, your fitness, your focus, your freedom. Most people think change starts outside, with a new job, a new schedule, a new location. But you've learned that the real shift begins within. Before the car, before the business, before the life you want shows up physically, it has to take shape mentally. And you've done that. You've created a version of yourself who acts before he feels like it, who follows through even when results are slow, who honors the vision even when no one else claps. That's why you're still here, still listening, still driving, still building. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Because deep down, you know there's no going back. Not after what you've seen. Not after what you felt. You've crossed the line between hoping and becoming. And now, you're not just building a business. You're building a self that can never be taken away. A self that can handle pressure, that can carry weight, that can walk through fire and keep moving forward. That's the shift, and it's already happening. Stay with it. There's a different kind of confidence that comes from doing hard things in silence. It's not the kind that posts about early mornings or shows off progress. This is the stage most people never reach because they stop when it's boring. They quit when it's not exciting. They give up right before the compounding begins. But not you. You've stayed long enough in the silence to let discipline do its real work, rewire you. Not just your habits, but your identity. You're becoming someone who finishes, someone who sticks, someone who's not swayed by how they feel, but anchored by who they decided to become. You may not see massive change yet. Your bank account might still look tight. Your side hustle might still be growing slow. But under the surface, momentum is building. And soon that momentum will become movement. Then it becomes transformation. Then a life. Not because you had one great day, but because you had hundreds of ordinary ones you refused to waste. So if you're still driving, still listening, still grinding, it means you've chosen to stay in the game. And that choice is everything. That choice is why you'll win. Keep stacking the days, keep building the wave. Momentum doesn't ask for attention, it asks for consistency. And you've already proven you're willing to give it. There comes a moment in the journey where you begin to feel stretched between two realities. One is visible to everyone around you. The life where you clock in, respond on cue, play your part in the system that never changes. The other is the one no one sees, the life burning quietly inside your mind, formed from late night thoughts and early morning resolve, shaped by a vision so clear to you it feels more real than the world you live in. And as the days go by, you feel the gap between those two lives growing. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, but it's there. A subtle, constant tension that pulls at your soul. Because you know you were meant for more than routines and survival. And once that knowing wakes up inside of you, it becomes nearly impossible to go back to sleep. You begin to notice that the things which used to hold your attention, mindless entertainment, idle conversations, temporary pleasures, no longer have the same grip on you. You sit in traffic and listen to these words not for distraction, but for direction. Your job may still claim your hours, but your vision claims your energy. And even though you're still physically present in your current life, emotionally and mentally, you're already somewhere else. Already building, already evolving, already becoming. There's a version of you that the world hasn't met yet, but you've seen glimpses of him in the mirror after a long day's work, in the quiet between your alarms, in the tired hands that still reach for the notebook instead of the remote. That tension, the pressure of living between the life you have and the one you're creating, can be exhausting. It can make you doubt yourself. It can make you wonder if you're just pretending, if this dream is just a fantasy, if you're foolish to believe in something no one else sees. But the truth is that doubt is part of the path. That ache is a sign you're not numb. That friction you feel is the proof that something inside you is alive and moving forward, even when the world tries to hold you still. Once you've seen what's possible, once you've felt the pull of a life designed on your terms, mediocrity no longer satisfies. You can't unsee the mountain once you've caught a glimpse of the peak. So you carry the tension like a hidden weight. You show up for your job, nod through conversations, complete the tasks expected of you. But all the while, you're building something beneath the surface. You're laying bricks no one sees yet. You're crafting a foundation in silence, not because you need credit, but because you need freedom. The tension becomes your training. It teaches you how to move with discipline, how to act with patience, how to think beyond circumstance. And through it all, you begin to understand. This isn't just about achieving a goal. It's about preparing yourself to hold the life you've been dreaming about. Because if you're not strong enough to carry what you build, it will collapse the moment you touch it. So, If right now you feel like you're in between the man you were and the man you're becoming, between the life you tolerate and the life you desire, know that this is not failure. This is transformation. This is the breaking apart of old frameworks to make room for new ones. That ache in your chest, that's the stretching of potential. That restlessness, that's your higher self calling you forward. Don't run from the tension. Don't numb it. Don't silence it. Walk with it. Learn from it. Let it mold you into someone who not only builds a dream, but becomes the kind of person who can carry it with grace. And when that day comes, when your outer world finally catches up to your inner one, people will look at you and say it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. It happened every day you chose to keep going, in the silence, in the struggle, in the in-between. You didn't just survive the tension. Resolute. You were forged by it. No one tells you how lonely the climb will be. Not the motivational videos, not the success stories. They speak of grit and hard work, but they skip over the silence, the solitude, the strange isolation that creeps in when you begin to take the road less traveled. It's not just that your schedule changes, it's that you change. You begin to pull away from the things that used to comfort you. Nights out become less important, conversations feel hollow, friendships that were once fun begin to feel like distractions. And as you start to align your actions with your deeper vision, you realize that the higher you climb, the fewer people can come with you. It's not that they don't care, it's that they don't understand. They haven't felt the fire that keeps you up at night. They haven't made the kind of promises to themselves that you've made in secret. So when you start turning down invitations, when you start waking up early to build instead of staying out late to forget, they think you're changing. And they're right, you are. You're becoming someone with edges, someone who's tired of settling for the watered-down version of life, someone who's willing to trade the warmth of the crowd for the cold clarity of purpose. The loneliness is real. There are moments when it stings, when you crave understanding, when you wish someone could just look at you and say, I see what you're building, and I believe in it too. But those moments are rare. Most of the time, it's just you, facing your doubts, rewriting your habits, doing the work when it feels like no one else cares. And that's what makes it sacred. That's what makes it real. Because in the absence of praise, you learn how to affirm yourself. In the absence of company, you learn how to stand alone. And in that stillness, in that loneliness, something solid begins to form inside you, a deep-rooted self-trust that no one can take from you. You begin to understand that the climb isn't just about reaching a goal. It's about becoming someone who never needed a crowd to move forward. Someone who didn't collapse when the cheers stopped. Someone who showed up, day after day, not because it was glamorous, but because it was necessary. You trade connection for conviction. You trade comfort for clarity. And you start to realize the loneliness was never a punishment, it was preparation. Because one day, when the world finally sees what you've been building in the dark, when your results speak louder than your words ever could, people will show up, they'll cheer, they'll want to learn your process. But by then, you'll already be someone else, someone who doesn't build for applause, but for freedom. Someone who knows that loneliness wasn't the cost of the climb. It was the forge that shaped you for it. At a certain point, your journey shifts. What began as a fight for your own freedom becomes something more. A quiet pull toward purpose. You realize that in becoming stronger, more consistent, more centered, you're not just freeing yourself, you're creating a ripple. You're showing others what's possible. Not with words or flashy claims, but with example. The kind that doesn't ask for attention, but commands respect. Because people don't follow what you say, they follow how you live. It won't be obvious. Most days, you feel like you're just showing up, doing your work, turning down temptations, keeping promises no one notices. But over time, those unnoticed moments become visible in ways you never expected. One day, someone will mention they changed their routine because of you. They'll say they picked the harder path because they saw you walk it without flinching. Not because you told them to, but because your example made their excuses feel small. It won't be the loudest voice in the room that people follow. It'll be the one who walks steady through discomfort. Who doesn't need credit to stay committed. Who stays anchored when others chase trends. Your discipline won't need to be explained. It will be felt. Your presence will say more than your words ever could. You won't be chasing attention. You'll be building gravity. The kind that pulls others higher just by being near it. You'll become the one others trust when everything else feels fake. And it won't be because you tried to be a leader, but because you mastered leading yourself first. That's what it means to become someone worth following. Not chasing likes, not chasing validation, but earning respect in quiet hours and unglamorous decisions. So keep building. For the life you want, for the man or woman you're becoming, and for the ones watching from the shadows, waiting for proof that it can be done. One day, everything will look the same, but feel entirely different. The room you wake up in, the morning light, the checklist on your desk, none of it may have changed, but you have. And without warning or fanfare, you'll realize you're no longer chasing the life you wanted. You're living it. You'll remember all of it. The long commutes, the early alarms, the nights you sacrificed for something no one else could see. You'll think back to the moments you almost quit, the doubts, the silence, the ache of doing work that didn't yet pay off. But now you'll see the purpose behind it all. How the struggle shaped you, how the isolation built you, how the quiet prepared you for the life you now hold in your hands. And then you'll look in the mirror, not to check your appearance, but to meet your reflection. And for once, you won't see potential. You'll see proof. The kind that can't be faked. Proof that you were right to believe in something better. Proof that discipline wasn't a sacrifice, it was the path. Proof that the person who kept going when no one clapped, when no one cared, was never weak. He was becoming unstoppable. You may not post about it, you may not tell anyone what it feels like, but deep down you'll know. You'll carry it like a quiet flame. The knowledge that you didn't just escape the life you didn't want, you earned the one you always knew was waiting. And when you walk through the world with that kind of peace in your chest, you won't need to convince anyone of who you are. They'll feel it, and more importantly, so will you.